Ange,
Yes.
I have 3 words for you.
Okay, let's hear them.
You called Gio.
Man, I hate to say it. I don't want to be braggy, but it feels so good to be right.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Yeah,
I don't know
no brag at all.
I don't know what feels better, the fact that Gio's coming home or that the UFR pod called it first.
Before Elliot Friedman, before Chris Johns, none of these guys had it.
Keep going. Keep naming them off.
They're all of no consequence anymore because my co-host here made the biggest call of 2022.
Welcome home, Mark Giordano. Let's talk about this trade a little bit. So what was it? It was Gio and Blackwell for 2 seconds and a third, correct?
Yep.
I mean, not even 2 seconds and a third, because the third they basically got back for Dermott. So it was 2 seconds and a Dermott in a sense.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I think the way that we should do it this episode is every time we talk about a trade, we'll give it a letter grade from both sides and kind of discuss it from there. So first off, with the Leafs, I'm going to give this trade an A-. The reason why I give that is I think this trade was perfect for what the Leafs needed. We say this time and time again, but gritty, big, tough defensemen that do the little things. And by the little things, I mean blocking shots, breaking out properly, finishing checks, being a leader. Those are the guys that win you Stanley Cups or help to do that. And I mean, Gio checks all those boxes.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that we didn't have to give up a first-round pick saves us from that really unfortunate scenario that it did last year with Nick Foligno, where he got hurt and then we ended up giving up a first. All these advanced stats show that Giordano is still a fantastic player. I mean, one of the greatest types of advanced stats are these heat maps that show how players on the ice compare when Giordano is on versus when he's not. And all the stats show that Giordano makes literally every defensive player he plays with better around him.
We could use a couple of those guys.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. I mean, it's tough to compare Giordano in Seattle to Giordano in Calgary because it's tough to disentangle whether his drop-off in offense was due to the team he's playing on or his age. But what I will say is that in his last year in Calgary, he was in the 92nd percentile in offensive production. And, this year in Seattle, he fell a little bit off of a cliff. But, what do you think? Was that because he was playing on Seattle or because he's older?
I don't know. It could be a bit of both. Like you said, he was, 92nd 2 years ago?
Yeah, in all offensive metrics.
And so, okay, let's say he's like 75 now or 80 now. That's still pretty solid. I don't know. What was he this year?
Like 45th percentile.
So let's meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Around 70 something. I don't know. I think that's still a really good player.
Right. You still take that. And just to compare it on the defensive side, in Calgary was 88th percentile in defensive metrics. And this year on a worse Seattle team playing improved minutes against better players, his defensive percentile improved to the 93rd percentile. Like he's getting better defensively.
Yeah.
I would expect the offensive production to pick up. And I mean, I don't know. I'm going to say his offensive production fell more so because of the team that he's on. Like he went from a team with Lindholm, Gaudreau, Kachuk, Mangiapane to a team of like third liners.
Yeah. I'm and as a Leafs fan, or the Leafs, I think would be more interested in that defensive number anyway. That's what we need him for more than anything. We have guys like Riley and Sandin who can carry the offense, but now with him, we didn't really need him. We didn't trade for him to put points up.
Yeah, no, I agree. A lot of the criticism from Leafs media and Leafs fans in general is that the team is not built to win because they're not strong enough, they're not big enough, they're not defensive enough. And this move checks all those boxes for a pretty cheap price. I really thought we were going to have to give up a first. We didn't have to.
Yeah, I would have been a little bit, I don't know, less hyped about the trade if we had to give up a first. 2 seconds is still steep, but I mean, if we can go on a little bit of a run, I think 2 seconds is something you'd be willing to give up all day. But the thing that excites me about this trade is that when Muzzin comes back, our left side, if Gio plays on the left, is going to be Riley, Muzzin, Giordano.
It's loaded.
And maybe it's not as good as Tampa's when they won with Hedman, McDonough, Sergachev, but I mean, hey, like not everyone's going to have that luxury, and that's a pretty stacked left side.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what the Leafs do when he comes back. I wonder if one of those guys will move to the right. It definitely won't be Riley. Maybe we see Giordano try and move to the right. I know you talk about it being difficult from a defensive perspective to move to the right side, but we're seeing it happen more and more often. I wouldn't be surprised if Giordano plays on the right side once Muzzin comes back.
Yeah, I think he's played a little bit of right side D2 throughout his career in bits. Like I know he's played mostly on the left, but a guy who's 38 years old, has been in the league for that long. I think of all players, he can figure it out how to switch sides.
I agree. I think at first it'll be the reunion of Brody and Giordano playing together, and then once Muzzin comes back, you'd have to think it would be Riley, Brody, Muzzin, and Giordano. That's
a pretty good top four.
Yeah, and then what would the third round off to be? Labushkin and Sandin.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, we'll take it. I mean, moving on to Seattle's side, I'm going to give this a B+. The reason why I'm going to give this a B+ is it's a solid return, but we'll talk about this later. Like when you see what Anaheim got for Hampus Lindholm, which is a kind of a comparable, I wonder if Seattle could have gotten a first if they shopped him elsewhere. What do you think?
Well, I think they did honestly like pretty well. He's a 38-year-old. He was their captain. I think he had some control over where he went. He said he wanted to come here. I mean, we will talk about Lindholm, but that's a guy like in his prime who then got signed to a deal, so that adds value to the deal. I think they did okay. I'm kind of excited also for Colin Blackwell. I don't know where he fits in, but he played with Yarncroke in Seattle this year. I think I was reading a little bit about Seattle, and they played that was their shutdown line. So his advanced numbers are not great, but if you're playing against the team's best players and you're on a terrible team, it's going to affect your numbers. I mean, if he's like a guy who comes in and out every once in a while, plays every other game on your fourth line, I don't hate it. It's a guy. He's usable.
Yeah, it seems like that shutdown line on the fourth line will be Spezza, either Engvall and Simmons, and then Blackwell on the right, correct? Or is he I know he plays center right now, but he might shift.
I'm assuming he'll be a winger, yeah.
I mean, I like the deal. I think Dubas did a really good job here balancing filling the holes that we needed to fill and not paying a humongous price. I'm tired of seeing the Leafs at the deadline give up first-round picks for players that you don't know for sure will pan out. Like the Foligno deal last year, I was all for it, but there was always that downside that he could be terrible or he got hurt, and I mean, the Leafs paid the price for that first.
We have no control over that, but you always do run a risk when you pay a first. So a good thing they didn't, and they saved their first for next year if they really want to use it again. So I think they did well. Do we want to talk about, I mean, you talked about it, but I do want to just quickly speak about Dermott to Vancouver for a third.
Okay.
It kind of just like, I'm kind of a little bit upset as a fan that he didn't work out because he was another local guy who seemed, I don't know, he seemed cool. He seemed easy to root for, kind of. I don't know. He just gave off that kind of like kid inside a man's body vibe, and he's easy to root for, but I hope he turns it around in Vancouver.
Yeah, on the more personal side, I agree with you, but on the more objective hockey business side, he was one of those big-time prospects, like kind of comparable to Liljegren, and just didn't really pan out. And I mean, with the prospects that the Leafs have on the D-line now, with Liljegren and Sandin, especially with Giordano being here, there's just no room for him. He had to go. I'm kind of surprised that we got a third-round pick for him.
Third's solid.
Yeah, I'll take it. Thank you, Vancouver, for giving us that third.
Yeah.
It replenishes some draft capital. I mean, it makes the Giordano deal a little less harsh. Not to say it was harsh to begin with, but yeah, I'm excited for what Dubas did. I really commend Dubas for what he did at this deadline.